Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Jake. I'm community developer here at Oraclee, and welcome to the very first community calls that we're celebrating here. So in this first community call, we have myself and Mohammed, who is the CTO and also the co-founder of Oraclee. Mohammed, I wanted to give you the chance to, in your words, give us a little bit about your background, a short introduction, and could you tell us why did you start? Oraclee in the first place.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jake. So I'm Mohammed. I'm the technical founder of Oraclee. Before starting Oraclee, I have started my career as a developer before switching to DevOps, where I have been working as a head of DevOps at a company where I have met Cyril, which is now my co-founder and CEO for Oraclee. During that period, we have started an open source project called Commissary, and the idea behind Commissary is to allow developers and DevOps and all the cloud practitioners to have the transparency on what they use on the cloud, which might seem like it's a simple thing, but it's one of the pain points today when using the cloud, especially if you are using multiple regions, and it become worse if you are into multi-cloud, and that was the case for us when we have been working on that company, since we've been spending thousands of dollars a day on AWS alone, and it was very hard for us to have the transparency on the services that we have been using and all the resources that has been created by the rest of the team. So what we have been doing back then is that every morning we had to sign up to the different consoles, either the AWS console or the GCP console, and go through all the services dashboard and switch from a region to another to find the right information, which takes a lot of time, and at the same time it wasn't that efficient because most of the time we have been missing some services, which means that a lot of money was wasted. So we ended up creating this open source project, which is now Commissary, to just on a simple way on a single dashboard gives you all the resources that you use on the cloud. And so that's how Commissary has started 3 years ago. Today we have over 3,000 stars on GitHub, over $2 million on the open source version. And then we wanted to take it further and to democratize DevOps for developers, because I'm not the typical DevOps guys. I have been working as a developer, then I switched to DevOps later on in my career, and I have seen a lot of frustration and frictions with developers and also for DevOps when they wanted to build their application on the cloud, and that's due to multiple reasons. The first one, of course, is the user experience on those cloud providers that make it very hard to find the right information. The second one is that there's a lot of tools today in the market to build the applications. So today it's not like a lack of tools, it's more a lack of knowledge, a lack of DevOps skills. And also there is a lot of hype, a lot of fear of missing out with tools that are created every day. Like you have technologies like Kubernetes, serverless, etc. So today it's very hard and very confusing for developers and also for cloud practitioners to choose the right resources to build their application on the cloud. And cloud providers make it worse because they offer a wide array of options and services, which make it very hard to choose which is the best service that is fits the company needs, which as a result has three main consequences. The first one is the cost. So as I said in the beginning, a lot of money is wasted on the cloud. The second problem is security. There's a lot of security issues, security vulnerabilities that is due to the lack of knowledge and also to the lack of like having the right or using the right tools that follows the best practices. And the final result or final major consequence is the performance issues. Like every time there is an outage, for instance, on AWS, on like recently on the Virginia region, we've seen a lot of news about a lot of applications, a lot of services that went down, and that's due to the lack of DevOps knowledge and also to the lack of simplicity when it comes to the practices that you need as a developer or as a cloud practitioner to put in place while building your apps on the cloud. So the mission of Oraclee is to simplify that and to allow developers to take control of their infrastructure by allowing them at the same time to build their applications by themselves on the cloud in a proper way. And how we will be doing that is first by Commissary. Commissary is the first component of Oraclee. It will allows cloud practitioner to have the transparency. So before we go into building applications on the cloud, we need to understand what we have today on the infrastructure. We need to start with a proper with an architecture or the infrastructure that is compliant with the best practices, what we call the word architecture framework. And that's what Commissaire allows you, is that in a simple way you connect any cloud provider. It's a cloud agnostic tool. It supports multiple cloud providers, including AWS, GCP, Azure, and others. And at the same time, it's open source, so it's very easy to plug and play other cloud providers later on. And then once it's plugged in, it gives you insights about what you use on the cloud, and it allows you to trigger a certain action like optimizing your costs or uncovering some hidden security issues or even improve the performance of your apps. So we have started with Commissaire as an open source project because we believe that open source is the model and it's the way to go when it comes to fixing or the complexity of cloud providers. And for us, that's the way to go if we want to build developers tools for the 99% of developers, because most of the time, people that are behind the screens, people that are doing the work on the infrastructure are developers or people that don't have much of skills and much of like knowledge when it comes to proper setups or infrastructure skills. So we want to simplify the usage of the cloud to them, and we are going to do that starting with Commissaire. So that's basically the mission of Oraclee. So we have started 5 months ago, me and Cyril. Later on, we have hired like some amazing rock star that joined us, including you, Jake, and then there is like Ray, which is our product designer, which is based on Nigeria. We have also Ali, which is based on Portugal, which is also another product designer. We have Vector, which is our first front-end engineer, which is based on Germany. And there is Greg also, which is also a founder associate, which is based in France. So if you notice that the product experience and product design is one of the core differentiator for us when it comes to building this next generation of developer tools, because like a lot of friction, a lot of frustration that made us create Commissaire was coming from the user experience that we had with those cloud providers. So we want the design and the product experience to be a must to have when it comes to building Oraclee. So that's why one of the early core hires of Oraclee was to hire a front-end engineer and product designers. So yeah, so that's basically the stages of Oraclee and also why we have started Oraclee. We have released it a couple of weeks ago, our first release, which I believe you will be doing a demo on a few. And yeah, so this is our first community call. So looking forward to be in touch with more developers, more cloud practitioners, to have their feedback so that we can build the future of DevOps, starting with Commissaire as the cloud agnostic environment inspector.
Cool, definitely. Yeah, before we jump into that, I just wanted to quickly ask you, because when I found out that Victor, the front end developer, he actually had a very, very strong background in product design, and then I realized, whoa, it's like we have three product designers on the team, and which is a high number for a small initial core group. In your opinion, what do teams that don't have this product kind of focus at the beginning get wrong, or what are we trying to in which way are we trying to get kind of like ahead of the curve, or what are we focusing on by having this strong product designer focus?
Yeah, so like for me, it's not only the three like teammates like Victor, Ray, and Alexandra that have this design skills, but I think most of the team have this product centric profile, which is like it's very important at this stage of our company, because again, like we are building a developer tool and there is a lot of friction or frustration today within the developers communities, because most of the DevOps tools that they use nowadays were not created for developers by developers, which is something which is different for us as a company. Like as I said, either me or Cyril, we are not the typical DevOps guys. Like I have started DevOps later on in my career, and I have seen a lot of friction and frustrations that coming from both sides, either as a developer or either as a developer, and want to like make something that can not only be usable by developers or by DevOps or by cloud practitioners, but something that can be simple to use by everyone within the team, especially when it comes to cloud transparency and cloud optimization, because a lot of people that you are going to report to are CFOs or are CEOs. They are not that technical, so the user experience and the workflow should be seamless, should be efficient, and should be simple. That's why we're putting a lot of energy, a lot of work when it comes to simplifying the product. And it's not only about the design, it's also about the whole company when it comes to the documentation. Also, that's one of the pains a lot of DevOps and a lot of developers are having today when it comes to using those tools that exist today in the market, is the lack of maintenance when it comes to the documentation, and also have resources that explain different use cases that they are facing on a daily basis. And that's something we have been focusing on since the day one. That's why we are also having this kind of community call, this kind of office hours, so that we can be more in touch with the rest of the community, so that they can influence the roadmap and can influence the products. Because we believe that being an open company, at least on this field, on this space that we are at, is a must. We cannot build this as a closed model. It should be open source, it should be an open company. So yeah, so that's why we have been putting a lot of focus since the beginning to have this product-centric profiles when it comes to the core team of Oraclee, because those are the ones that will shape the future and also shape how the platform will looks like, and how we can also make it simple for others that are not that technical, but at the same time they are involved when it comes to the cloud on a daily basis.
It makes loads of sense because most companies today are technology companies. Even if their core business isn't developing software, there's software being developed in the background in most companies. And how frustrating it must be for like a project manager or for a HR manager or just like someone who realizes that costs are going up or that there's efficiencies that can be gained in security, and they always have to depend on the DevOps engineers to do something about it. But by putting effort into making a tool that's easy to use and you don't need, it has like a lower barrier to entry, can make those other actors inside of an organization be quite impactful. So that's really, really cool. Cool. So just a heads up about what we want to do today. So we're going to kick things off with just a demo of the state of Oraclee at the moment. We'll then move on to looking at the roadmap to see what features are upcoming and what is coming down the pipeline. We'll have a quick chat for people who would be interested in contributing and see what would be the best way to go about that for potential contributors, and also talk about the open roles that we have here at Oraclee. And of course, since this is a community call, this is open to everybody. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you by any chance are watching this on YouTube afterwards, please feel free to join our Discord server, and in the future community calls, you can share your questions there, and we'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so having said all that, let's go ahead and jump over to Oraclee. This will be a good place to start. Our landing page, oraclee.io, in which you'll be able to access the enterprise version of Oraclee. You'll also find links to access Commissar. We'll have a look at this a little bit later on. But so if we want to go straight over to Oraclee, you could, and if you don't have an account, you can click on Try Cloud and the onboarding process will start. You can also check out the onboarding video that we have on our YouTube video to help you along with that if you have any issues on the way. But once you have an account, you can go over to Oraclee, in which you'll land on this dashboard. We'll get to the dashboard in just a sec, but I want to start off by looking at the cloud accounts. So one of the things that Oraclee is trying to do from the get-go is we're trying to create an easy way to have a look at all your cloud resources, no matter which cloud provider they're in. So when you open up your account, we're going to ask you to link one cloud provider, but then you can choose to add as many more as you want. In this case, we just have the Oraclee account, which we can consider to be, for example, a production account. And we also have the the dev account, which could kind of represent my dev environment. We could add other cloud providers. If there's a cloud provider that we don't support, also feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to add other cloud providers if the need for it comes about. So having these cloud providers linked means that we're going to have a consolidated view and a consolidated access to all of our resources. And we can see that over here in the dashboard. We have an overall view of the cost breakdown across our cloud providers. We can see the regions that we find ourselves in, and we can see the overall view of the cost that's incurred per service. We can also filter through the provider, account, and region. If we want a more granular view into our costs, we can scroll down to the Cost Explorer down below, in which we can then filter for whatever particular service or whatever particular region that we're interested in. And we can also export the data in CSV format right here. At the moment, we're only supporting AWS, but we will shortly add support for the other cloud providers to be able to have this data export. So this is the main overview of the cost breakdown of your cloud providers. But to drill down a little bit deeper, let's head over to the inventory page. So over here in the inventory page, we have a filtering system and a view of all of the resources across all of our cloud providers. And this is really powerful because now we can kind of wave goodbye to the times in which we had a tab open for each account of each cloud provider. Now we have everything in one place, and it's easily searchable and it's easily filterable. We can then add tags to these resources to have custom views, or we can have cost insights into particular groupings that make sense for us. So as you can see here, we have a bunch of different resources, but in my case, I just want to see all my S3 buckets, and I can see them here, but not all of them are part of the same department. So I could add tags to them over here. Here in the tagging section, I can add as many key value pairs here as tags and then filter through them. Once I filter through them, I will then see the cost breakdown for each tag grouping. So having an inventory page in which we can easily add and edit tags and filter services by name, region, or by the actual cloud provider itself, it's a very useful bedrock to be able to build the features that we have in the pipeline that we will talk about. But simply to have this start, this aggregated view of everything that's in our cloud providers is a really, really good first step. So the inventory page is a great first start, but let's be honest. How often are you going to be looking at a dashboard? You're probably not going to be doing this for the whole day, but you definitely don't want to be surprised. So a second step that could be very beneficial is to set up budget alarms. And we can do that over here, leveraging our Slack integration. So before we actually create the budget alert, let's make sure that the Slack integration is created. So we'll go over to settings and integrations. And I'm just going to recreate it. I'm going to disconnect the integration that I have in place and just make sure that I can connect it again. So now I'm just going to be prompted by Slack to allow Oraclee to permission to access my Slack server. And there we go. The integration has been set up. Okay, so let's set up the Slack integration for the dev environment. So let's hit the Slack icon over here. And initially we can choose the Slack channel in which we would like to get a daily notification of the cost that's been incurred up until that point. So in my case, I usually finish the day at around 5 p.m. So I'd like to get a notification then to know that cost usage metric. So I'll get that. But say, for example, I want to be sure that in my dev environment, we never go over $500. And if we do, I want to be notified of that. So we can do that by toggling this trigger here. And now we're going to be able to set our budget limit. So in my case, we're going to put in a number which represents a dollar amount. In my case, I don't want $500 to be spent, or over $500 to be spent in my dev account. We could press save now, and this would be correctly configured, but we've also added a section in which you can add a post request URL endpoint. So what we want to be able to enable you to do here is that whenever the threshold of your budget is surpassed, you can then designate the endpoint where you would like to receive a post request. And that webhook can then serve to, it might put in motion an action that could be useful for you. So say, for example, you might send this webhook to PagerDuty, and PagerDuty would then alert your team that a threshold was surpassed. Or for example, you could send the webhook to a function inside your cloud provider, and that would take some action or maybe revoke permissions of users of that environment. This is really up to you, but just so you know, this is free for you to also use. Then we would just simply save, and this budget alert would be ready to go. So now we've had a look at the main features here on Oraclee. Let's have a look at what's coming down the line. Okay, so I'm looking at the public Oraclee roadmap, which you can find at roadmap.oraclee.io, in which we have a breakdown of the three different segments that we have. We have Oraclee, which we have been talking about. We have Commissar, which is the open source version of Oraclee. And then we have the documentation, which is the documentation of Commissar, that is a perfect area for contributors, and especially first-time contributors. Speaking of Commissar, I just want to take a quick little detour just to show you what it looks like. Commissar, even though it's the open source version and a lot of contributors have contributed to the project in many ways, we are also actively maintaining the project. And if I'm not mistaken, at the end of October, we will be delivering a complete revamp of Commissar. So what we see now will be overhauled. But just so you know, if you go over to our GitHub, which is hello Oraclee/Commissar, you can download and install either Commissar locally, or you can deploy it to a Kubernetes cluster, and you would have this. Now, one of the main differences is that we don't have the inventory page here just yet. We have the separation of these different cloud areas. So we have compute, storage, network, security, data, and AI. And this is not a consolidated view. We're only going to see the view of the particular accounts that we configure, and then we can toggle between those accounts. We'll see the specific data of each of the accounts. So you can go ahead and scroll through here. I'll let you deploy it locally to see your particular data, but this is what Commissar looks like at the moment. So going back to the public roadmap, Mohammed, do you think you would like to tell us about the up and coming Oraclee features?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the Oraclee as a product, so currently we're working on the filter sets. The idea behind this feature is to allow the user, starting from the inventory page, to filters on the data that is available there using fields like the cloud provider, the cloud account, the region, and even custom fields like the tags, which can be a really powerful feature, because like if we combine it with another feature that we are working on, which is the custom views, now you can, like, based on the data that you have filtered, you can save it as a view which can be dynamic. So that way you can create a view for each team or for each department of your company, so that each team can be more cost conscious about what they are spending on the cloud and what they are using on the cloud, and they can access this data in a simple manner without having the deep knowledge of the cloud providers or the cloud services that you are using. And another feature that we are working on also, that is coming in the upcoming weeks, is tags management. So today on Oraclee, you can add tags in a simple way from the inventory page, but we are not going to stop at this manual level of creation of tags. We are also going to introduce rules and automations. And the idea behind that is that you can create automatic rules that will create tags automatically when a certain conditions are valid. That way, your infrastructure will be always compliant. So every time a developer or another teammate is creating resources on the cloud, they will be tagged with the proper tags. And that way, they will be appearing on your views and on your costs so that you always understand the bills that you receive at the end of each month from the cloud providers, because you will have this deep knowledge and visibility on the resources that you have been creating and provisioning on the cloud. So that's for the Oracle side. As for Commissar, so as Jake said, we are working on a total revamp of Commissar, which will be coming on the upcoming weeks. So hopefully by the end of the month, we should have the new complete revamp of Commissar, which will have the inventory page, the same way you have seen it on Oracle. We are going to introduce it also on Commissar. That way, it will be a consolidated view for you, where you can see all the resources without having to switch from a cloud provider to another. And also we are introducing the tags also on Commissar, so that you can also like have not only transparency but also have a simple way to manage your resources, so you can take custom actions afterward, like reducing the cost or removing underutilized services, etc., etc. So that's basically the main feature that we are working on at this stage. Of course, there are other features that are on the backlog, so feel free to go through them. And also, if you think that we are missing a feature that you think we need to work on it, so you have the option to influence the roadmap by either requesting a new feature, either through the public roadmap, which is the link, as you can see, is roadmap.oraclee.io, or by joining our Discord channel, or either by raising any issues on our open source GitHub repository. You can also vote for existing features that are on the roadmap, so that we can prioritize them for the upcoming sprints. So yeah, so that's basically the list of features that we are working on currently. So
Yeah.
I'll give you the stage, maybe Jake, so you can walk them on how they can contribute to the project.
Yeah, no, thanks, Minnie, because I was just thinking that this would be the perfect place to also start if they feel up to the task of contributing. We would maybe recommend heading over to the docs section, in which we have some 4 open issues with have to do with features that could be added or improved to our documentation site, which is built with Docusaurus. You can find it at docs.commissar.io. And yeah, these have a quite low barrier of entry, and they're a perfect place to start if you would like to add some value to the project. We would really appreciate it. And if you want some more information on how to do so, we would ask you to head over to hello Oraclee/commissar on GitHub, in which you can find our repository here for the Commissar project. And right down here at the bottom, you'll find a section for roadmap and contributing, in which you can then head over to the contributor guidelines, and they will more than likely give you the information that you need to get your first PR merged. Now, if you go through this and you still have some questions, please feel free again to join the Discord server and reach out to us directly. We'll be happy to help as much as possible. Contributing to an open source project is something that is highly encouraged, and contributing to a cloud service, that's more in line with a job. So if you would like to have a job with us, let's have a quick look over at the open roles that we have. I know, Mohammed, that we're looking at the moment for a front-end engineer and a back-end engineer. Could you give us a little bit of a breakdown on what we're looking for exactly?
Yeah, sure. So as Jake said, like if you want to shape the future of DevOps and democratize the DevOps for developers, with us, like we are looking for a front end and a back end engineers. So you can apply easily by filling a simple survey on apply.oraclee.io. So we are looking for a front-end engineer, ideally with previous experience with JavaScript framework like React or Angular. For a backend, we are looking for a Gopher or someone with some previous experience with Golang, and also someone who is interested on cloud providers and building cloud native applications. So if you know someone that aligns with what we are looking for, so feel free to share with them uh, this. And also, if you want to have a chat with us, we have also the office hours. We have them on a weekly basis where we can chat with us about Commissar, Oraclee, or open source in general. We can also give you some tips, some advices on how you can build your apps on the cloud. So yeah, so like as I said in the beginning, we are building this platform as an open company, so you can influence how we build the products in multiple ways, either by contributing to the open source project, either by joining us as a full-time mates or employees, or by giving us feedback either during the community calls or the office hours, or by joining simply our Discord.
Exactly, yeah, and that, no, that feeds in perfectly into the last slide, which is yeah, ways to connect with us. This particular community call will happen at on the last Friday of every month. The next date is set for the 28th. On a weekly basis, we have those office hours, as Mohammed pointed out. Find us on Twitter to be able to get the link to book a 30-minute slot with one of us to bring up any features, any ideas, or simply just to have a chat about the things that we were talking about earlier, if they interest you. So, having said that, that's it for this community call. Thanks a million to everybody who participated. Yeah, thanks a million, Mohammed, for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks a lot, Jake. See you on the next community call.